Today in America, about 1,574 people were arrested strictly for possessing marijuana. And that number adds up over the year. In 2015, 574,641 people were arrested for possession of marijuana. That number is far too large for the, in my mind, not so serious crime that it is. I believe that marijuana legalization is the obvious next step for our nation, as it is not only a good idea for the people, but for the economy as well. It can help fix the economy for me and you, and it could save some of us from a lot of criminal trials. But with taking that next step, it must be taken correctly. In my speech, I'm going to talk about how marijuana could be legalized across the nation, and why it should be. So, you may be thinking, why is this that big of a deal? I mean, it must be illegal for a reason, right? Well, the only reason it's still illegal is because some states haven't voted to legalize it yet. For example, both Colorado and Washington legalized marijuana during the 2012 election cycle, and that has caused a large sum of money to be earned from it. In the first year of legal marijuana, Colorado earned $53 million in taxes. According to this money.cnn.com article, recreational pot, $53 million in tax revenue for Colorado, published on February 12, 2015. That's a large amount of money that could go towards things such as funding education or drug rehabilitation. This isn't the only economic impact that the legalization has caused either. In addition to this tax money, marijuana has created over 18,000 jobs and generated $2.4 billion in economic activity in 2015 alone, according to an article entitled, "The Marijuana Industry Created More Than 18,000 New Jobs in Colorado Last Year," from WashingtonPost.com. In fact, selling marijuana isn't even the only way that large amounts of money can be put back into state and national coffers. Just by decriminalizing marijuana, the nation as a whole would save $3.6 billion, according to ACLU.org's article entitled, "Marijuana Arrests by the Number." Now, imagine what a nation as a whole could do with that much money. Almost all of that money could be allocated to other services, such as funding education or drug awareness. The money that they do decide to keep spending on the war on drugs could be focused more on getting rid of the illegal drug cartels or the drugs that are actually harmful to you, such as heroin and meth. Currently, marijuana is illegal at the national level. Now, there's two different ways that a previously illegal activity could become legal. This is either through a state election or nationwide through the Supreme Court. However, this doesn't stop states such as Colorado and Washington from legalizing it in their own state election, and then just working out the details afterwards. The first step for this to occur, however, would be to get the issue onto a state ballot. Anyone is able to do this, provided that they are able to collect enough valid signatures to get the issue onto the ballot. Now, there are some regulations that must be followed during the collection of signatures. For the purpose of this speech, I'm just going to, and to keep it relevant to us, I am going to talk only about the requirements for South Dakota. Now, the first thing that would have to be done would be to apply to petition. According to ballotpedia.org, to do this, the sponsors of the bills must file a copy of the statute or amendment with the South Dakota Legislative Research Council for review. After the measure has been submitted, the council reviews the measure, and the proponents for it must submit a final draft to the Attorney General. After the petition is approved, they must reach a certain number of signatures. That number for the 2016 election was 27,741 for a constitutional amendment and 13,871 for a statute. There are many specifics to how the signatures must be collected, but one of the biggest is that they must be gathered in person, not through an online petition. Signatures can be gathered for 1 year and must be submitted 1 year prior to the election that is being put on. After the signatures have been submitted, they are verified by the Secretary of State randomly. At least 5% of all collected and submitted signatures must be checked by the Secretary of State. The signatures are then able to be challenged before being put onto the ballot if accepted. After that, all that would be required to pass the new amendment or statute would be a majority of the votes cast. The ballot measures would then go into full effect after the completion of the official canvass of the votes. The other way for previously illegal activity to become legal would be for the U.S. Supreme Court to decide to do something about it. One famous example of this would be Roe v. Wade changing the laws on abortion. However, Roe v. Wade was appealed to the Supreme Court from a lower court. The likelihood that a marijuana case would be appealed and accepted by the Supreme Court from a South Dakota court is extremely unlikely. It would be possible to submit the case directly to the Supreme Court, but it would then be thrown into a group of other cases from which the Supreme Court has been submitted, and, again, be rather unlikely to be chosen from among them. Getting marijuana legalized at the state level is probably the easiest way to get things done. Passing a marijuana legalizing statute or amendment will never be easy. It'll have to be worked on for long hours and long days just to get it onto the ballot. It may fail right away, but without a doubt, I believe that is the best thing for our state and our nation. It not only reduces costs, but it also would make a large amount of money, and it would cause a large amount of economic growth. And if we work hard enough, it might just happen too.